Hey everybody, and welcome to another Jamovi tutorial in our series, Learning Statistics with Jamovi. I will probably mess that up several times as I try to say it. So in this video, I want to quickly tell you about how to set up your data. And over the next two videos, explain how you create a manual set of data. You have a set of data that maybe you enter in from sets of paper from your data collection. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how to set it up, and in the next couple of episodes, talk about how maybe you want to make some changes to those data to make it appropriate for the analyses that you want to do coming up next. So the first thing that I want to do is talk about how to set up data. Well, when you open Jamovi, you are immediately given an empty data set. So by default, you have an A, B, and C variable with them marked as nominal variables. And so we can do anything to these, or we can replace them with what we want. But in all actuality, all I want to talk about today is making sure that we have our variables set up so when we do start entering the data, we can then work with it for any kind of analyses that we want to do afterward. So when you open up Jamovi, and just to pause here that I'm using their most recent version of 2.2.5, good old V in the Jamovi there. So when we open up the program and we want to add information from scratch, so we're not opening an existing data file that I mentioned in the previous episode, we are going to just enter it in from scratch. Now, with Jamovi, you can enter in data from scratch. You can do all of your data analysis and data entry in this one particular program. I do recommend, however, even though that is possible, I do recommend using a spreadsheet program like Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, Apple Numbers, I guess that's what it's called, something like that you can then save from there. And the reason why I suggest that is because data manipulation, data cleaning is a little bit easier, in my opinion, in those spreadsheet programs. Not to say that you can't do it in here, and that's what this new course that I am building is all about. This is what this new tutorial series is all about, so that you can do the things that you want to do in this program itself. Okay. So let's talk about setting up these variables. I have three, and we're just going to deal with these opposite ones. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, we have either the column header or the variable tab that we can use to set up our variables. So you either double click on the column header or you just go to the variable tab, and there they all are. And this is an extra set of steps, but here in the variable tab, we can edit our variables, which is what we're going to do. So we'll talk about that. We can compute a variable, which we will talk about in a upcoming video, and a transform variable. And again, something that we'll talk about in an upcoming video. We also have add or delete variables. Now, of course, these are represented as columns because in the data sheet, variables are columns, even though you see them here as rows. Okay, so just be aware that if you add or delete a column, it's going to add or delete a row only in this view. Okay. And then finally, you can do filters. And then don't forget, please don't forget that we have undo and redo buttons. Undo and redo. So if you make a mistake, good news. You can undo what you did. Or if you accidentally undid, that's a weird word. If you actually accidentally undid something, you can go back and redo it. Gotta love undo, redo. Okay, so let's edit A, for example. We're going to call A, let's see here. I have this. Do you typically eat breakfast on weekdays is the question that I would like to ask. So the variable, so I'm going to put that actually down in the description. The description is not going to, do you typically eat breakfast on weekdays? That would be weekdays. There we go. This has no bearing on the analysis or anything like that. That's just the description. And we are going to call this eat break. Okay, that's a variable name. It doesn't really matter. Now, this is a yes or no question. Do you typically eat breakfast on weekdays? And what we're going to do is we are going to leave this as a nominal variable. Okay, we have a choice of ordinal and continuous, and then our ID variable. But of course, we're going to leave it as nominal because yes and no are mutually exclusive. So this particular variable is nominal. Now, we have the data type set to auto, but we can change it to decimal or text if we want to. But in data coding, and what you might learn in things that come later in your statistical career, is that integers are useful for coding responses, especially if they make a lot of sense. So we are going to leave this with integer, and I'll show you why in just a second. Missing values, we're going to go ahead and leave that blank because in this example, I'm not going to use any kind of missing values. So we need to move on now to levels. And what I want to do is I want to hit this plus button here to add in my levels. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me the option to add what number corresponds to yes and what number corresponds to no. So here it's going to ask me for a value. And so I'm going to hit 0, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and hit it again so I can get 1, okay? And those are my 2, okay? Now, I have that all set. Oh, these are pin buttons. Okay, that's cool. I like to pin those. Sure. Okay. And what that's going to do, it's going to give me a 0 and a 1, although I do want 0 moved up there. There we go. So these two arrows change the order of these. Of course, 0 comes before 1, so that's why we'd use them. All right, so we can close that now, and we can go into the data view and start entering in 1s and 0s. Oops, I'm going to hit the 0 there. And we're going to do 10 values there. Okay, I forgot that the label is actually what you want to put in there when you add the levels, and then it corresponds to the 0 and the 1. Okay, so that's what you do there. And then, of course, we have our yeses and nos that go here. You could also leave them as 0 and 1s and just remember 0 and 1s, or you could put them in the description. Either way, that's what you can do. And so here we have 0s and 1s. We're going to keep doing this with this in the next couple of episodes. We're going to keep with this data set. So make sure to save it if you are following along. Again, I'm only going to use an n of 10, so we're only going to have 10 responses. And then I'm going to put in a couple of other variables here as we go through it. Okay. All right. So in B, what I want to do is, again, I double click. So B is going to be a scale variable, or a Likert scale variable. So this one is going to be an agreement scale from 1 to 5. So 1, strongly disagree, and 5, strongly agree. Other values in there you've probably seen before. So this question is going to be something like, are dogs the best? Or actually, this should be a statement. So dogs are the best pet. Okay. Dogs best is what I'll call it. Digs best. That's what they do. They dig best. Okay. And I'm just going to put in 1. Although we don't need levels, actually. Delete that. Because I want to make this a continuous variable. Now, we could make it ordinal. That would make a lot of sense, actually. The debate between what are Likert scales, are they ordinal, or are they continuous? Sure, we'll do that. So dogs best is going to be that. We will keep it as integer. I'm going to do this one. Cats are the best pet. So this one, cats best, okay, is the name of the variable. We are going to call it ordinal. And then I'm going to add in another variable, new data variable, okay? And this one is going to be dogs bring love and affection, sure. D for dog love. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, so there we have the 3 scalar, no, actually I forgot to make one change here. I'm gonna change that to ordinal, the scalar variables there. So let's let's just make some data here. Let's do a 1, a 2, 3, a 4, a 5, a 2, a 4, and a 4, sure. Cat's best, let's do 3, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, or 2, 4, 4, 2, 1, okay? These data don't necessarily make any sense. Just, go with me on this one. Let's do 5, 5, 5, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, 1. I'm sure there's very little correspondence here, but that's what we're going to do to keep it easy for you to follow along, because the data doesn't necessarily need to be posted. I could host it on my website and post it in the YouTube description, but honestly, I think you can enter this in on your own. It helps you enter it in. So that is how you set up a data set manually in Jamovi. Stay tuned for the next couple of episodes where we use this data set to make some changes. Thanks for watching. See ya!